I've seen a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
To cover up our mistakes.
I've met people who swear they've seen Bigfoot.
Join us for a journey into the obscure.
You are now listening to The Wow Pod.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Yes.
It's a beautiful day out today.
Yep, knee deep in the quarantine. Knee deep in it. We'll see what happens.
You know, we kind of talked about this earlier. I don't know if my life's much different. I'm a total introvert.
Yeah, and I've been at work the whole time, so.
I feel like I have spent most of my adult life. Okay, so I know I have spent most of my adult life being a mom, and so all of my time is spent hanging out with my kids. So
just like summertime with class for you?
Yeah, it's like I teach French during the summertime. Which, by the way,
I'm play with their friends.
I'm really not good at it.
Yeah. Well, better you teaching it than me.
Oh gosh.
I know a little bit of French. I surrender. No, I'm
recording.
But yeah, so we got some fun news today, and we're going to tell a little story. But anyhow, yeah, not much else going on in the world. We've had, what do we have, 2 earthquakes this week?
They say they're aftershocks. I've been following them. The state of Utah has a pretty robust seismology department, and
at least now they've got a job.
Yeah,
but and for the last 20 years.
So about a month ago, we had
with their feet up like in a
yeah. About a month ago, we had, what was it, a 5.2?
Yeah, something enough to, shake a little bit of stuff loose.
Yeah, and so they claim that right following that, it's on the Wasatch Fault Line, and the Wasatch Fault Line is not. We don't know very much about it because it's not a primary fault line, but it's getting quite a bit of activity right now, and the seismology department has basically said that 5.2, it's like if you drop a rock in the water and the waves spread out. So it shakes there, and then that movement spreads out, and it shakes a little further, and then as it spreads out, it continues to shake. So they're claiming that this is, in fact, an aftershock, but we had 2 of them. A 5.17, which was, I think, last Monday, or excuse me, a 4.17, which was last Monday. And then
Tuesday.
Yeah, and then this most recent one was a 4.2, but they said that it actually shook more than the one that was a lesser magnitude, which I guess I don't understand enough about earthquakes. But yeah, they said that this last one actually was probably felt more, but it in fact was just that wave kind of moving out.
So how many more are we supposed to get?
It's not an exact science. They can't tell you when they're coming. They can't tell you how big they're going to be. I don't know what we pay these guys to do.
No, well, Betsy, they haven't had a job but for the last month.
Well,
just now looking.
I mean, really? What? They don't know when. They can't predict them. They can't tell us where. They can't tell us when. They can't.
You know those alien movies where the guy's sitting there in front of a computer screen with his feet kicked up and nothing ever happens? Then finally something happens and they spin up, and that's what happened with the geological guys this last month. Up until that point, they did nothing.
Apparently, there's never been those seismophones. They've never had those on the Wasatch Fault Line, but since that last shake, they've now got 140 of them placed along that Wasatch Fault Line. So they were able to get some pretty good measurements, and hopefully they'll get some mapping done. I mean, what else are you guys doing?
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't mean to disparage the seismologists. We love you. Please tell us if a big one's coming.
Yeah, tell us what your job was like before and after.
No doubt.
Something else. But yeah, then what else is in the news that's big news? I mean, the
Stop.
politicians all come out and argue every day, and then what is it?
That is the most, like, stop being so divisive.
Isn't Michigan got some protesting going on or somewhere? Something.
It's Michigan.
Yeah.
It's Michigan, and I understand the protesting. I think that she's overstepped some constitutional lines. Like, she wasn't allowing you to. So in Michigan, there are 770 plus inlet waterways. And so fishing, obviously, for a state that size with 770 bodies of water, fishing's a big deal. Well, she was saying ATV trails are fine, hiking is fine, camping is fine, but no boats on the water. And as far as social distancing goes, there's really no more social distancing than fishing.
Yeah. They're stopping fishing up there. It's funny. The one thing that I did pay attention to is they stopped you from buying
garden supplies,
but you can still buy lottery tickets because
now there's been a big and I think I only know about this because I know about this, not personally, but having dealt with it. There's a big issue with the state liquor stores being opened. And I think one thing that people don't understand is that if you drink heavily, and then suddenly stop drinking heavily, you'll find yourself dead or in the hospital. And so it's almost like a pharmacy.
And we need the hospitals to not be full of people
exactly
alcohol withdrawals.
Right. And we really don't need our first responders to be responding to, people who are suffering from, this toxemia that comes with withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
So,
but
I
that
understand
there in Utah that people would be upset that the liquor stores are open. How did that happen?
I know.
So
Michigan, and then instead of Trump getting on and saying, we've got to all come together, we need to do this together, there's only one way through this, the governors and I are going to meet, he gets on and tweets, liberate Michigan.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously? What are you doing?
He's not.
This is not a campaign. This is a pandemic. Anyway.
Either way,
yeah.
It is.
Either way.
All right. I want to talk about good news or fun news or entertaining news. All right. So in Kenya, the Nairobi, Kenya, a politician named Mike Sonko, he ordered some COVID care packages.
What? They have those?
Well, yeah, but he's in a little bit of trouble because he put little mini bottles of Hennessey in them.
He made the care packages, so he ordered them to be put together?
I don't know if he ordered them to be put together or if he actually put them together, but they each have a few small bottles of cognac, of Hennessey cognac in there. He calls it.
Listen.
He calls it throat sanitizer.
I think that's appropriate.
But
I think during a pandemic, there should be margarita trucks driving around similar to the ice cream trucks, or and they can, us parents can all wait, patiently at the front door, and we can jog out with our money in our hand and get our margaritas. I think it's appropriate.
Well, the World Health Organization is mad at him now, and everybody's mad at him. There's a video of him talking right here. I'm not going to play the video.
He's in the mask?
He's wearing a face shield, ball cap, sunglasses, and a neck cover. Oh,
Heaven.
I like what this guy's got going on. No, the alcohol doesn't protect from it, as the World Health Organization says, but I imagine it might make you feel a little better while you go through it.
Yeah, I mean, toilet paper doesn't protect you from it, but everybody hoarded that. It's just for comfort,
Oh boy, did they.
That's
hoarded.
just one of those things.
They
Unbelievable.
crazy. Yeah.
My story
Yeah.
comes out of Florida, and when I read this last night, it was shared by one of our listeners and friends, Amber, and I thought this can't be true. But I read it, and I was like, what? And so I actually searched it out, and it did happen, but the headline is misleading. So the headline reads, Florida man arrested outside Olive Garden for eating pasta belligerently. So I asked my husband, I was like, how do you eat it belligerently? And he was like, well, maybe like Cookie Monster, like, nom, 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 nom.
Yeah, like some of the pasta's dribbling off your head.
So if you read into it, 32-year-old Ben Paget was actually intoxicated, and he was like yelling at people, give me money. And but when he was arrested, he had,
now he's a homeless man, right?
yes, he had a to-go container of Olive Garden pasta and was just shoveling it into his mouth belligerently, apparently.
See, what he was arrested for was being belligerent out in front of the business, not for.
But it was right. It was a belligerent intoxication, so kind of like public intox.
Yes. But the
news, what he was arrested for.
The news was they were being honest in what they said, but they were being dishonest in how they said it.
Yes, yeah. So it says he was arrested outside Olive Garden after eating pasta belligerently, which is in fact true.
Yes.
But he wasn't arrested for eating pasta belligerently. So funny headline. But
he wasn't, it doesn't say he was being arrested for being belligerent while eating pasta.
Right. It's a play on words. I dig it.
But they lawyered that up real well. But that's funny. I imagine that, and it looks like he's been roughed up a bit.
That could be pasta sauce. And hard to say, because the arresting officer put him in handcuffs and then was like, oh man, and took his one hand out and said, wipe your face.
Yeah. So I guess when he got in the car, he started going through some convulsions. So I'm thinking this guy has some underlying mental issues and drug problems.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it started out where he was like, screaming at people, telling them to give him money and food. Mm-hmm. And then apparently somebody felt bad for him, gave him some pasta. He belligerently ate it. Now, listen, I thought of all the ways. I tried to belligerently eat my cookies last night. And it was just like,
I think when you belligerently eat stuff, you're not technically eating them. You're just breaking them apart with your face and dropping it back in the
ground. Right. So anyway.
I just want to talk about his picture. Did they get a high school photographer to take it where they had him tilt his head? Doesn't it look like a high school photo?
It looks like a high schooler when you tell them, that they didn't clean their room right. Gosh.
Well, remember the high school picture you used to have to tilt your head for some reason?
Tilt with your chin.
Look sultry. Maybe Austin Powers is a photographer.
What they should have done is put some spaghetti on his face.
Oh man.
So he could be reminded of what got him there.
Leave the spaghetti on his face.
I don't know. I don't know how you belligerently eat, but I did try to come up with some ideas last night that would go along with eating belligerently.
Yeah.
Now, I know one time I made spaghetti, and I'm pretty sure my daughter belligerently ate it because at the end of it, she said, "Mom, maybe you should call Grandma and get her recipe." So maybe that's belligerently eating.
Grandma, what's she talking about on that one?
Grandma Brown. She loves her spaghetti.
Oh,
So
you've been
yeah.
outdone. All right. Well,
Yeah, I was like, really?
I've got a couple more stories. All right. So there's been a neo-Nazi planned attack in Vegas on a synagogue, right? And the it's like an online neo-Nazi group. So it's not a militia, locals, they get together and, have burn cross and cake night or whatever they do. This is an online group. And they've been planning on building a car bomb and driving it to the synagogue in Las Vegas and blowing it up.
And they've put this like online?
Yes. The leader of the group, though, they can't put him on trial for it because he's 13.
Where's his mama?
Where is his mom? Where's anybody?
Boy, I find my 13-year-old son leading any kind of neo-Nazi terrorist group, I'm gonna beat his ass.
Yeah. A 13-year-old has gathered the troops. What kind of silver tongue does this 13? First of all, how did they motivate him to put down the Game Boy paddle long enough to do this? Second of all,
this kid's gonna be the leader of a prison gang.
They need to watch this one close because this kid, if he can, well, they're not very bright. They are neo-Nazis, but if this kid let him, he goes by the commander. But yeah,
you're kidding.
No,
they know who he is. Did they tell his mom? Did they call his mom?
The police actually picked him up, but they can't do anything. They can't prosecute him at all because he's under the age of 14.
Oh my gosh.
It's insane.
Did they call his grandpa? If his mom's not doing something, perhaps his grandpa.
Yeah, where's his mom, his grandpa, his dad, a neighbor? This kid, I hope that they keep a close eye on him because
holy cow. Yeah. He's going to be trouble.
Oh yeah. 13 and leading now granted this might be a group of 5 neo-Nazis. It is an online group.
And are they all 13?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say. They didn't. It doesn't seem like they captured any of the members of the group. They just went for the person who hosted the URL, the internet site of the group. I'm not going to say its name because, well, it's, you can only guess what a neo-Nazi would have as their
URL. Is it GoDaddy?
No, I don't know how this URL made it, but yeah, it's of course relates to Hitler and all that stuff. But anyways, but yeah, 13-year-old kid. What radicalized a 13-year-old kid like that? I
think the larger question is, our children are products of their home life. So there's clearly something. Maybe don't tell his mama.
They need to have a look at dad and mom too, see what's going on there.
Yeah. Because my kids, for instance, I have almost a 13-year-old. They wouldn't even know what a neo-Nazi is. No. They don't get into politics. We're not radical on anything, really. We're kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, they're just a 13-year-old was leading a group. And I've got another story. Okay, so you know who El Chapo is, right?
Yeah.
The Mexican drug cartel cat.
Yeah.
Well, his he's got a hold on, my computer's starting to slow down a bit. Too much open. He's got a it's ElChapoGuzman.com. And
Wow.
yeah, ElChapoGuzman.com, and it's like kind of his website.
Now, some people called him the Robin Hood.
Well, most of your drug dealers do community works in their local community, and that's a way to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And the reason they'll do that is because if the people in the neighborhood are happy with you, then they're not going to be snitches.
I need one good drug cartel to come here and pull my weeds.
Could you just imagine out there? El Chapo's guys out there.
I mean, really, it's an insurmountable amount of work.
But anyway, so his daughter has been there's a video of her on Facebook. This is his daughter right there. On Facebook, she's boxing up toilet paper and foodstuffs, oil, cooking stuff, and handing it out to the poor down there in Mexico, in Guadalajara.
Can you imagine being his daughter?
But the boxes are really interesting. They've got an outline of El Chapo on it, and it says ElChapoGuzman.com down the side. So it's not like she's just handing these out for.
No, it's advertisement.
Yeah, it's.
What do you get at ElChapoGuzman.com? Did you check it out? Is there like a?
I have not been there.
An ordering page and a frequently asked questions page.
I would have to go to a site like that from somewhere other than my own computer.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess there. You could say that not anybody is wholly evil or wholly bad or wholly good.
Yeah,
So,
that looks to me like taking advantage.
well, he's locked up. He's in a maximum security prison. So maybe
right,
they're
he's
trying
still
to up
operating
his
a
name to
business
get
on
him
the
out.
outside.
What's that?
It's propaganda of sorts. So he's either operating a business on the outside that he's trying to support, or he's trying to sway the people.
I think he's trying to sway the people, but he's in a U.S. prison, so swaying the people in Mexico isn't going to help.
No.
But in a future show, we are going to cover some stuff around the drug trade that it ties back to us, to our.
El Chapo. I don't know what to make of drug lords. I don't want to call them smart businessmen, because I think that putting all of your money and your enterprise and your time and effort into illegal activities is just by and large not smart. But they do have an ingenuity that, if they would put it to good use, is unstoppable.
Good use
because
to make that type of money. My issue with drugs are, whenever you make prohibition, you cause a vacuum and vacuums naturally get filled.
Yes. Yeah.
And commonly that vacuum gets filled by, the CIA's been caught running drugs multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I would bet Guzman was, a part of that.
Well, sure. Most of the big drug cartel were introduced by way of our Central Intelligence Agency. Mm-hmm. And that's, neither here nor there. And prohibition for me is neither here nor there. But ElChapo's an interesting dude.
Well, his escapes were interesting. That'd be a fun show. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway,
we should get on to the meat and potatoes of today's show.
the goodness.
Yes.
The goodness it is. Now, I don't know much about this. I do know what we're going to discuss today, but I don't know much about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to hear.
All right, welcome back.
Well, welcome back.
Had a catastrophic computer malfunction.
Took a little siesta.
Yeah. Like I said, I do not know how to run computers. But we still have the story today, but in the intermission, I read a story out of one of the Santa wherevers in California, in
One of the Santas.
People's Republic of. So there's a skate park. A nonprofit organization of mothers gathers together, earns the money, builds a skate park for their kids. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, at that point, that skate park becomes private property of that nonprofit organization.
Yep.
The state should not be able to touch it. That's my opinion. But what does the state do? Kids are still skateboarding there. So they dump 37 tons of sand in it. In a property because people were using it. So the state dumped 37, and they didn't even talk to the organization that built it. They just dumped the sand there. Are they going to clear it out after? How much taxpayer money was wasted on that? I don't know. I saw that and my head popped off. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And that is why I cannot move to California. I want the weather.
Right.
But I can't deal with this. I can't deal with a government that treats you like a cog in a wheel or an ant.
This is when you first said to me, you vote with your feet. I thought, well, that's an interesting thought, but it's coming up more and more and more. There was a big transgender movement in Idaho. Everyone was crying about it. The governor of Idaho is anti-transgender. And I remember thinking back to when I first heard you say it a couple of years ago, and I thought, you know what? You've got to vote with your feet. You've got to elect people that are local, that align with your values, or you need to vote with your feet. We have that ability in the United States to just pick up and move to a state that is closer fitting to, or you've got to just be willing to settle in. And we see it now. We see it now with a couple of sheriffs in Michigan. There are 4 sheriffs in the state of Michigan who have openly stood up and said, we absolutely will not uphold the unconstitutional spread of the governor of Michigan when it comes to our waterways and our driveways and our backyards. We won't do it because we are voted in by we the people, and we are upheld to the Constitution. That's it.
Well, you got to look at it. There's the Bill of Rights, the 14th Amendment. You got the 10th Amendment, which gave powers to the states, and the 14th Amendment, which also gives power to the states. I can't recite them for you right now, but they're trying to be torn down by both Republicans and Democrats right now. They want this ultimate control.
Yeah.
I don't want to get off on a political theory discussion because we're here to talk about monsters, but also, okay, so you got that in California, and then in Wisconsin, a girl came back from she went on a school band trip in February to play their band down at Disney World. Came back, she was sick, so she goes to the hospital. The doctors tell her, they don't have the test. We can't test you right now. So go home, self-quarantine, and they give her a breathalyzer thing or an inhaler. She goes home, posts on Insta, whatever, or face
chat, or
posts on there, I'm sick, whatever, and then proceeds to get sicker. Her mom takes her back to the hospital. They keep her in there for a day and a half, still no test, not able to test her, send her home again. She posts again, I'm home after being a day and a half in the hospital. I'm starting to feel better. I'm still on breathing treatments, but I got sick. And then like a week later, the school contacts the sheriff or the police department go over to her house, threaten her, tell her to take down these posts, or her or her parents can be jailed or fined.
For just saying what her
Well,
experience
there's
is.
a First Amendment lawsuit now being filed.
Yeah.
In my honest opinion, the minute a law enforcement officer breaks the Bill of Rights, he's fired. The minute he breaks them, he's fired. He took an oath, but that's the one thing. Don't break those. He's fired. The minute those are broken, there's no administrative leave. There's none of that. You boot him off the force. And the minute a law enforcement officer goes to court and loses for something, whatever it is, I think a law enforcement officers make it hard. Let's even pay them more, but make it so when they're found convicted, they serve double what anyone else would, because
they're in a position of power.
They want to take and hold that power. That's a part of the deal. So if what you did is a $500 fine, if you're a law enforcement officer, if you're someone who asserts that authority, your fine's $1,000. If it's 6 weeks in jail, you get 12 weeks. And that just needs to be, we need to make that deal. We need to be, you want to be a part of this, you better have your shit tight. You can't be broken.
And I applaud the officers and sheriffs that are sticking to their mission statements and oaths that they took in office. In spite of the pandemic, I think that some things should remain.
Yep.
I get it. I understand. I know lots of healthcare workers who are completely opposed to reopening the economy. I just think that we all need to remember that these healthcare workers are not often economists, and I think that there's a clash between deaths. This may kill 2%, but a depression will kill 20%.
They see that window. That's all.
Right.
That little window.
And I appreciate that. But I think that we need to recognize that the economists don't see the healthcare don't see the economists, and perhaps there's a much larger picture just beyond what we can see. And I applaud the officers and the sheriffs who are just upholding the oaths that they took. I want to send them a card and say thank you.
Yeah, I say we adhere to the rebel spirit that made this nation.
Yeah.
Vote
with your feet.
Yeah, if you want that, go to Cuba.
Go to it. I understand that there's barriers. I understand that it may be difficult for you, but you can't stay here in a country that was founded on a certain set of principles and complain about those principles. Go to where you're most comfortable.
Granted, they here and they think they're doing something positive for the nation, but right. I think we need to have that give and flow. But anyways, this isn't a political show. Go to my other show, a happy hour, if you want more of the political show. Today, I want to talk about lore and myths and legends and cannibals and violence on the prairies. That's what I want to talk about. So let's begin. In northern Nevada, and we started this last night, so forgive me. You may hear some repeat of stuff. In northern Nevada.
Boy, that is rugged territory. Look at that.
It's a mountain, and this is from back in the early 1900s. This photo is, but I like this photo because this time frame.
Now, for those of you who haven't visited Nevada, we do have people from all over the world listening to this podcast. Nevada is rugged desert territory.
So is Utah, let's face it.
Yeah, for the most part.
All that stuff. But so in northern Nevada, like it's the northwest corner, there's an old Pleistocene lake that was caused. That's the last ice age. It was caused like Lake Bonneville's kind of remnants of that. And so what it did is it cut these furrows with glaciers and stuff. And there's one of them called the Humboldt Sink. And on the shores of this Humboldt Sink, which Humboldt is a lake that kind of goes dry and then fills up. On the shores of it, there's a cave. It's called Lovelock Cave. And it's some 30 feet wide, 60 feet deep. And it kind of opens up down inside. And it used to have a bigger opening, but there was apparently some earthquake action or shaking of the ground caused it to cave in. So on this, there's an ancient Piute lore, and Piute are the Native Americans from around this area. And the Piute lore states that there used to be around 400 AD. So this is before white man came. This is even before the Vikings that we found traces of on the East Coast, even before they came, that there were some redhead giants there. And we've talked about redhead giants before, and there's kind of lore of them from all over. You've got the redhead giants in Afghanistan. You've got redhead giants in Peru. It's lore, and they were cannibals. So the lore is that these giants would come down. They lived on the bank waters, and they would go up into the cave during the winter. And they used to come into the Piute little villages and cause war, kill people, kidnap babies. And in some of the writings laid out by a lady by the name of Sarah Winnemucca Hopkins. In 1882, she wrote a book called Life Among the Piutes, Their Wrongs and Claims. Now, she never won a disclaimer. She never mentioned giants, but she talked about a tribe of red-haired barbarians that her people fought hundreds of years before she wrote this book. So they would come down, and in some of the stories, they would actually, their warfare would set out where the men would go to war against the men, and the women were, kind of in the back, adding that support and aid. And she talked about when any side was fallen, was killed, the women would rush forward from the red-haired cannibal side, steal the body, and run off with it to take it back
to eat it.
Yes, it didn't matter. They ate both sides, and so what they did is the Piutes all gathered together. They got tired of it. Got tired of being raided in the middle of the night for their young. They got tired of their bodies being dug up from their burial grounds and stolen to be eaten. So all the tribes, all the Piute tribes gathered together, made a confederation. And first thing they did is they went around the lake and burned all the reeds. Now, the Piutes called these red-haired giants Sitika, which means tool eaters, and tool is the reeds that grew around this lake. Also called them Sayil, sorry, again, me with words, or Sadiku, which means dwellers under the tool, which the red-haired giants,
They would use it for cover.
They used it for everything. They made their houses out of it, their clothes, their beds, their boats. They had these boats that they would build that was woven tool, and that was part of what they used for their raiding. So the Piutes went through, burned down all this tool around the lake, and then kind of as a whole nation chased these Sitika up into the cave. And then they kept stacking wood in the doorway. And the Sitika are thinking, oh, maybe they're making offerings or whatever they thought. But they kept pulling the wood further into the cave. But also they were firing arrows at the cave. So I guess they didn't want to grab the wood and go out, but they didn't want to be trapped in there. They kept pulling it in. And once they got enough wood in, the Piutes switched over to flaming arrows and started shooting flaming arrows into the cave. The whole time they're yelling, do you want to join us and become men, or do you want to die there? And the Sitka wouldn't join them. So eventually the cave starts on fire. And they're just shooting arrows at anyone that comes out. Everyone else is trapped inside to either asphyxiate or be burned alive. So that's where the red-haired giants go. Let's fast forward a minute. In 1911, a couple of guys explore this cave. They want to start a mining operation, and they want to mine guano. The reason they want to mine it is because guano works very well in making gunpowder. So they want to mine guano and sell it, and they were kind of a mining expedition that sent this guano to the San Francisco mining company. And then they would...
What a terrible thing to get into.
Yes.
Mink farms and guano, they're right the same.
Yes.
I'm sure very lucrative, but both just terrible jobs.
Could you imagine how much fun that'd be?
Mm.
So they're mining this guano up here in this cave. They remove approximately 2 tons of guano. So while they...
Hang on a second. 2 tons. That is a lot of guano. Okay, carry on.
From an animal about yay big. That's a lot of animal shit. And there's still a lot of guano there. And apparently you can still smell it. We're going to have to take a tour this summer when they let us leave again. But
and they open the gates.
Yes. I'm going to flash a picture real quick of Sarah Winnemucca Hawkins. Now, she is a Piute princess is what I guess you'd call her. She's like the granddaughter of one of the great chiefs. But that's her right there. She talked about she had a dress. It's called a morning dress that was hemmed or edged in the red hair. And if you look at that, can you see her picture right there?
I can.
Like that dress has like a little cherub on her on a sash there, you know. But she wrote a book. She was a early women's rights activist. This is in 1882. She was kind of a early suffragette, but she was from
was she Piute?
Yes. Well, I think she was half Piute. I think she married a white guy. But yeah. But I don't think this is the morning dress, but she had a morning dress that she would wear at some of her big speeches where the hems was this red hair. Now, disclaimer. Apparently, hair turns naturally red when it's left out to decay. Apparently.
Huh.
That's what I've been reading. So there's all the, so they as they're digging this out, they find a couple things. Now, it's reported that they find some bodies.
Under the guano.
Yes, they find some bodies. One was a 8-foot tall male. The other one was a 6.5-foot tall female. Skeletons. And that's also,
like 20% taller than your average female.
Back then,
That's like 40% taller than your average female. So giants, we have a tendency to think that they're going to be 14 and 15 foot tall. But we have to recognize that
they don't have
throughout the years, we have changed in size. Just in a couple of generations. I mean,
and safe lifestyle has changed everything. But
I mean, my grandma, my sweet little grandma, her wrists are much smaller than mine ever been. They're about the size of my 9-year-old today. So just a couple generations apart, we've changed.
Grandma is teeny tiny. She is. Now, these skeletons can't be found. It's been claimed that they went to the Smithsonian and different museums and got hidden or destroyed or covered up.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Searching that, the one claim by World News and Daily Report was kind of satire. So no, I can't verify that these skeletons have ever existed or any of that.
Well, what would be the motive to? I mean, because you would think that would, one, create a giant stream of revenue if the Smithsonian then put them on display, because people from all over the world would be coming to the Smithsonian to see these. There's no real motive for them to keep them, unless I'm just not understanding.
It's a good question. I don't know. Maybe they just don't want us to believe in giants. Maybe the lizards went to war with the giants, and the lizards are trying to erase the giants. Maybe they were both like rulers. Anyways, there was a sandal found. The sandal is up on the screen now for anyone wondering. It's a old school sandal, kind of square. Looks like it's made out of packed leather. Has a tie down thong style strap. Now, this sandal is 15 inches long.
Wow.
So if they built the sandal to fit their foot, that's a substantial foot.
Yeah. If it was more like, I mean, the Sierra Nevadas do get some snow. So, I mean, perhaps it was more like a paddle for like snowshoeings and things.
Maybe.
But this giant narrative can be found on every continent.
It's everywhere.
So it's not unlikely that we didn't have an abnormally large race.
I didn't want to bring up the Peruvian one because those people still exist and they still live on boats. They kind of had a lot of the same story, and they are not giants. But some of the other Peruvian Indians called them cannibals and what have you. I didn't want to bring that up because, one, I didn't flesh it out. We're kind of focused in on this one. And also, I would rather do some more studying into what those people say their history is than to possibly disparage them over, calling each other bad names. Another thing was duck decoys.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yes, these duck decoys are made out of that thule. This is that thule, that plant.
Uh-huh.
Some of them even have real feathers lining in its inside of them. And they're still existing. They're still here, which I think is awesome. These are at the museum, the Humboldt Museum, I believe. And you can still go see those. But those are duck decoys that were found in the cave under guano. I'm sure once you wash the bat shit off, it was very lovely to see them.
Do you think our craftsmanship is devolving?
No, I think it's
by way of technology, because that's like next. Those will survive much longer into our future than the crap we make today.
Well, I don't know. Some of the stuff we make today will last forever. It all depends. Like a plastic duck decoy that we make today, just those, what do they call them? Void filled molded duck decoys. Those theoretically could last eons. So,
they just seem like much less craftsmanship, like maybe better materials
and we use a lot less calories in the specific production, but the calories we use in the startup production is a lot more. Where then we had to go gather this plant, probably smash it, chew on it, loosen it up, and then form it around maybe a block of wood, a block of dead wood. Whereas now we have to, make the mold and everything else. So I don't know whether our craftsmanship is devolved or evolved. It's just technology
different.
Has made it different.
Interesting. Those duck decoys are cool though.
Oh yeah. Now when they look at this cave through the testing of the material, they found bits of woven baskets out of this stool and all this stuff. They believe from about 400 BC on through to about 440 AD, it was inhabited. The largest inhabitants number just from the remains they find is around 1500 BC. That's when it's
Inside the cave?
inside the cave, which means they probably lived down next to the, outside of the cave, or, dislocated further from the cave during the summer months more, just because it was warmer and safer. And then they probably retreated and pulled back into the cave during the winter. Just the motion. They could go out and farm and gather and everything else, and then bring that stuff back in, survive the winter in and real close to the cave, and then the summer come out, and they probably just had a cyclical, an annual cyclical nature to how they lived and where they migrated and moved.
Now, as far as the Piutes go, what do we know about their migratory patterns? Because did they just end up near these red giants during a migration and then decide that they, didn't get along with them, and then, move them into the cave and destroy the entire race? I mean, I don't understand how the two came together.
I don't know that much about the Piutes migratory patterns. I do know that a lot of the Ute language mirrors language from Native Americans up towards eastern Canada, if I remember. So there was a lot of migration, and a lot of it was...
Were they a pretty much peaceful tribe?
No.
I guess...
I don't
tribes
argue there was a peaceful tribe.
Right. I was just going to say that. I guess no tribes are
These are people
peaceful.
that still need to eat. They still need the resources around, and they still get angry if that interaction comes with the other people, just like we are today. They're no different than we are today. I think it would be dishonest to say that Native American tribes lived in peace and harmony. I think it would be dishonest to say they were savages. I think it's more honest to say they were humans, just like we are today, with different technology and different means
trying to survive.
Different means for gaining resources, and their interactions were still the same. Some of them would meet up and trade. Some of them would meet up in war. Some might meet up and just stare across the river at each other and dislike each other. It could be any or all of the above. So
outside of the bones that were supposedly found and given to the Smithsonian, is there any other remains? Because if an entire clan inhabited this area for that long, you would find their remains everywhere. Yes. Now, granted, they probably didn't make it a practice to bury bodies, especially if they were. Do you think they ate their own? Dwelling. I mean, is that common in cannibalism? Yes, very common in cannibalism. Now, so then they would use their bones for other materials. Another thing they reported to find was human bones that had looked like they had been scraped and broken open for the marrow. Yeah. See, so you may not find entire skeletons if their practice wasn't. And I'm not disparaging you cannibals. Those of you who practice that, I'm totally fine with it. I'm pro cannibal choice or whatever. But there wouldn't be a practice of perhaps burying the dead, but instead reusing them and other purposes. The dead, they wouldn't bury him there. Yeah. You don't want to bury in the cave where you went your holdout. Yeah. Probably bury the dead elsewhere. Now they have reported to find stacks of bones and reed boats when the lake bed kind of dries up a little bit. And so some of the reports is that they kind of had a Viking burial. They put them on the boats, float them out, sink or burn the boat out on the water. I don't think it's too far-fetched. No, I mean, it appears. I mean, maybe if they had said that there was a family of bears that, spoke their language living up there, that's different. But if we're just talking a different height and stature and a different way of living, I don't think that's too far-fetched. Could have been a simple genetic thing between tribes.
It could have been their diet was better. It could have been any of those things. Maybe living by the lake, they ate more fish, so they had more protein.
Interesting.
But I do want to drift into some other thoughts.
Okay.
So, red hair. We do, I don't want to say we do know, but it's theorized that Leif Erikson had a band that made it to Newfoundland up in Canada, right?
Okay. Leif, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What if some of them stayed behind? Maybe wandered a bit. Or what if during the Ice Age, a band of maybe Neanderthals made it across the ice bridge that would have been formed on the north between Europe and the Americas, hunting seals? Huh?
Now those long voyages, from all the accounts, were just terrible things to experience.
Now,
I can imagine bands of people saying, listen, we're not doing that again. This is fine. We're staying. I can see that 100%.
They could have just got lost at sea and then just
and ended up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
here's where we are. But then again, I mean, there's theorized. You've got Clovis Man. There's been some theories around that he was a European, that maybe during the Pleistocene, early humans, early hominids, Neanderthal, and then from Russia, you've got the Denisovans or Denisovians. Maybe they came over, and maybe the humans, the Native American humans, extinguished them over here as well. You know, we're pretty sure that was a part of the extinguishing of the standalone Neanderthals in Europe and the standalone Denisovans in Russia. Maybe that was the finishing moves on them. Was the humans either breeding them out or downright killing them?
I don't think it's too far-fetched. We find in nature, we find animals and remains of animals in places they should not have been. I don't think it's too far-fetched that the same would be for Homo sapiens of any kind.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I mean, that's an interesting time, that early breakout of when humans first came out. There were other humans that not humans, but other hominids, high hominids, I guess we could call them, that broke out around the same time. You've got the Denisovan man, which was around the Denisovan cave in Russia, and that could have been, you know, the movements of pre-human hominids, you know, just kind of evolving, maybe getting trapped there by a mini ice age. So they're not around other humans. So they breed and something different happens to them. Here's the Denisovan cave. They found a pinky finger from an adolescent girl there, I think. And its DNA is not a match for humans or Neanderthals, but something different.
Mm. Okay, so if we follow this theory with these long-haired red giants, can you imagine how terrifying it would be to set up camp or some kind of communal living, and then in the middle of the night to have these giant, or what would be considered giant compared to you? I mean, to me, an 8-foot guy is a giant. I mean, if we're going to be honest.
To you, a 6-foot guy's a giant.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even shorter. But at any rate, for them to come in and steal your young.
Yeah. What if you're sleeping and they're sneaky and they snatch the young out of the dwellings on the outskirts of your little village, and then take the young, and you wake up
and then you find out they eat them.
Yes.
That's the shit nightmares are made of. I mean, I don't care what kind of peaceful tribe or non-peaceful tribe you are. That's the shit that you talk about. That's why these folklores are passed down from generation to generation.
Yes.
Because it leaves such a memory.
Oh yeah. Being hunted for food. That's been a political maneuver the Toltecs, the Aztecs, or I don't know about the Aztecs for sure, but the Toltecs used. They would start up cannibalism to subdue uprisings.
That's terrifying.
But when they find human bones that have been busted open for the marrow, it's a pretty sure sign. And it has scrape marks on it, which means it was cleaned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
all available resources were removed.
Yes.
Oh, that's scary. I think that
sitting around, got to eat the whole person.
Yeah. I mean,
person waste not, want not.
Oh.
But then again, you got the red-haired giant theory, and I know that we have touched on this previously, but there's other red-haired giants out there too.
Yes.
What if Bigfoot is or was, if he doesn't exist now, or if he does, what if Bigfoot is just another high hominid?
What if it's, they're the saying, keep it simple. What if it's just that simple? Like, let's not complicate this. What if it's just that simple?
Yes. What if it was or is Bigfoot, and Bigfoot's retreated because the humans bred better, because the humans didn't, because the humans had an advantage on tools or better use of fire or, some kind of mechanical advantage, whereas the Bigfoot had the size advantage. The red-haired giant had the size, but the tools made the difference, like right.
I mean, it's no different than our deep sea oceans. I often wonder if upon first glance of some of these really deep sea aquatic life, if they think like we're mythical creatures. like do they get together and go,
old ice fishing joke by the you might be a redneck guy?
I mean, honestly, it's not, we know so little about our own planet.
Well,
it's absurd.
It's not that we know so little. It's that the calorie expenditure to find out that much is too high.
It's too high. Yes.
Think about it. We could probably build something that could go to the bottom of the Marianas Trench safely, provide air, and all that stuff. But what would we have to build?
Yeah. But see, I guess I'm more like the Piute.
To build, say, a tube that went all the way down that, 7-mile trench.
Yeah.
And had
we don't even know for sure.
Would the glass have to be 3 feet thick? Would we have to push air down in there to a positive level to keep that glass from crushing in? And what changes does that do to the human body inside of it?
Yeah, I guess I am more like the Piute, like in the search for Loch Ness. They burned all the reeds. Well, I say drain it.
Drain it.
Then we'll know.
I mean, it's gone now, but now we've got to move on to Bear River to get the Bear River monster.
That's what I'm saying. Drain it.
But how crazy is what? Okay, so these red-haired giants, they exterminated them. They killed them all, burned them in their caves. None of them would come out and become, the words are, come out and be man and talk like us. So what if they killed them all and that was the Bigfoot? Or another theory.
What if they didn't?
We talked about this once upon a time. So in the beginning, God made the angels. Then God used the angels to help make the earth. and out of mud he made man, and the angels hung around, and the angels saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, so they bred with them, making the Nephilim, the giants. Huh? What if
Yeah.
red-haired giants were the hangers-on of the Nephilim, and they still hung around until our technology rose to a point that we could eradicate them
Boom. Solved it.
through our weapons, through our technology, through our use of fire, everything else.
The Nephilim is an interesting theory.
We need to dig into that. That'll be,
Yes.
I think when we do the Book of Enoch show, that'll bear quite a bit in there.
Oh, the Book of Enoch.
Yes, that's a big one.
It's too much.
It's going to be a year in the making, just because, well, it's a kind of it's a slog read.
God, the red-haired giants. You know, you just don't think about these things until you think about these things.
Well, but they've got
It's like I read it. I read a thing. It was a meme about Joe Biden. He said people are dying now that have never died before.
They need to. They're just abusing that poor old man now. What are you going to do? He's going to what? Get on the stage and argue?
Oh, yeah, it is kind of sad because he's somebody's great grandpa.
Great grandpa. He's
Well, where's our senior protection agency now?
I know the SPA.
Yes, I'm gonna have to start one.
Put him
Joe Biden will be our first client.
Put him in foster care. But seriously, now
bless his heart. He's somebody's grandpa.
I don't want to get into the political stuff. I don't want to. That's for my other show. But I do think that I don't think he's gonna run. I don't. I think
you don't think he'll be on the ticket? Everyone's backing him up now.
Nope. I think a dark horse is gonna come out right before the convention.
Well, I hope it's an independent, and I hope it's somebody who's not affiliated with either party, but that is impossible.
No, the convention, I'm talking about the Democrat convention, and I think a dark horse is going to come out, and I'm thinking it's going to be from New York, from California. Cuomo or what's the dipshit in California's name? Starts with,
I can't remember. Andrew something.
No, you're thinking Cuomo.
Is that his name?
Yeah, but the guy in California. I think one of those two are going to come out as a dark horse unless they can get a media personality to jump on. But other than that, if Biden goes to the debates, it's going to be sad. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about red-haired giant. Our theories. My theory, I think I lean more towards another. Now, we know that the Native Americans that we have now, a lot of their genes go back towards Mongolia and China.
Sure.
Okay. They came across the Bering Strait. But that was during an ice age also, during a recession of it, but that was during an ice age. I'm wondering if there wasn't a man that came from either direction, an early high hominid, not a human, or maybe even a human, that came from either direction that showed different traits. What if there was a red-haired genealogical, maybe Northern European or Eastern Asian human that made the trek further north or further south and came across just in a different window?
Well, and we're just now learning about recessive gene expression and the things that turn those on and off. And we're learning that diet can turn on recessive genes, whereby we never even considered mechanisms that were in our control before. So, I mean, it's not impossible, for even someone to be completely average to throw these crazy recessive genes and have, 8-foot children with bright red hair. It's not impossible, because I think we all carry these generations of recessive genes that are not expressed either because of the way we're living or necessity.
What? We carry recessive genes, says the guy who looks like a Neanderthal?
You are a recessive gene. But I mean, I think we're just now understanding the genocode.
Yeah. But anyways.
So it totally could be true.
I guess all European descendants have Neanderthal genes in them. Maybe once we get to where we boil down the actual Denisovan gene, we'll find out if there's any descendants that have theirs. Who has
maybe they were fine until they started eating people during a famine, and they all became Wendigo. Maybe the red-hair giants are the Nevada's Wendigo.
Oh, it could be. I mean, I've been knee deep in watching shows about cannibalism in the Americas, and
why?
It's a touchy subject because a lot of people, I think a lot of times people want to have a fantastical view of their prehistory, of their past.
Yeah.
And so they don't like encountering anything that goes against that. So there's been a lot of argument, even a few court cases and such about it.
About cannibalism?
The science is in. Everybody in their genome has been cannibals. Everybody.
Well,
during famine it causes,
right?
Political strife it causes, during warfare it starts. Everybody.
I think the Donner Party was the perfect example of that.
Yep.
Now, did we get a couple of Wendigos out of that? I don't know. One guy went on to open a restaurant.
Yeah, what was that guy's name? I mean, he seemed like he liked it. He was throwing people out.
I mean, maybe there is the Wendigo switch in all of us, and perhaps the Wendigo is more of a state of mind than it is a physical manifestation.
Human meat is just so tasty.
I don't know. I don't know. It goes beyond me to
do a little pinch of paprika across it.
Maybe all the celebrities that eat at the Cannibal Club in LA are actually Wendigos, and the Wendigos are running Hollywood. We don't know.
The Wendigos and the lizards run the world.
Freaking killing me.
They ganged up and beat the red-headed giants.
Because I mean, if we're talking Wendigos take on a different, I mean, oh man, you could just go a million ways.
Yes.
It's too much. Don't eat people. We're not advocating for that. All right.
Or
we're just saying,
if you do, send us a letter. Let us know.
Okay, so I'm pretty pro-choice on everything, and probably including eating people, because I wouldn't say that I disparage against the tribes that are cannibals either. I'm just saying.
Wasn't there that Swedish scientist that came out and said we need to start eating people because we're running out of
Yes. Lord have mercy.
all Soylent Green.
The problem is you have to start making decisions because you don't want to eat unhealthy meat, correct? I mean, so do we start eating young? That's what this Swedish scientist, suggested, is that the meat is the best when it's young, kind of like veal. But, I mean, as a civilized society, we can't go down the road or we will definitely all become Wendigo. Yep. That I know with 100% certainty.
And also, if you're against murder, slavery, especially, chattel slavery. I mean, just to go into an experience where a person belongs to you for you to...
Or they're considered an edible commodity.
Yeah.
Could
you imagine the livestock fairs?
Oh. And I would argue that if adrenochrome is an actual thing, that's dipping the toe in the Wendigo waters.
Yeah, we need to talk about that soon because there's more conspiracy theories coming about that. Wuhan, the wet markets, the coronavirus is trying to get anxiety high in all the people so they can harvest the adrenochrome out of the human race.
Lord have mercy. This coronavirus is going to be our children's largest conspiracy theory that they will speak about.
You ain't kidding. Well, look, could you imagine being 5 right now? They shut the schools down. How nervous are you? What's going on? What's next? Mom's not working. Dad's not working. We're having a hard time ourselves.
I think that people need to recognize that's why the economy needs to get started again. That children innately understand
they put stress in the house.
Sickness and medical help. It's a totally different situation if the entire economy collapses. That is exposing our children, our youth, to things that are completely unnecessary. We have a choice in that.
Yep.
Viruses.
I just hope
the jury's out for me on whether or not I want the coronavirus because we still know very little about it.
And right now, if I meet someone with it, they're getting mouth kissed hard.
But what if it's like the seasonal flu and you just get really sick and then you get it again?
I don't care because then I can go to work and say I already had it.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I think the jury's out, but it's an interesting time to be alive, to say the very least. And I hope we come out of this better.
I hope
our healthcare needs to understand that those giant buildings that they're filling up are completely useless.
The certifications of need that needs to go away. I think the community should decide, not a group of people trying to maintain a monopoly on that service.
And the usual and customary is what they call it in medical services, that the usual and customary is set by a broad scope of people doing the same thing and charging the same price.
Oh, no.
And those are bolstered by the need to fill these big buildings, these billion-dollar buildings. You can do this over a phone line.
Well, and then I think businesses need to look at if people can work from home and not have to commute, let's figure out how to make that happen.
And we are learning very quickly.
Administrative assistants. Things like that.
We're learning very quickly what the cost is in both directions. I think that good things will come from this so long as we all focus on that. Just make the most of this right now. What are you doing in your life to make the most of it? My life hasn't changed.
Good, but I think our government is going to ruin any positive.
That's why we got to focus local. Focus local.
Yeah, they're just arguing with each other. That's all they're doing.
I say let them do that. Yep. Pay no attention to it. Turn your focus to your neighborhoods, your townships, your cities, your local officials, your state officials. That's it. If we all do that, then what will end up is a much more segregated state-wise country at the end of this. And I'm fine with that.
Yep. Well, I think that's
totally
big.
Totally fine with that.
1 million people.
Yeah. I think if we start in our homes and then go out from there, within the boundary walls of our states, that's as far as we need to be concerned with all of this riffraff.
I dig it.
Let them do what they're going to do.
We went too far off topic. Okay. Let us know what you think.
I think
they're redhead giants. Are they big?
It's possible.
Were they
100% possible?
I want the people to tell me, do they think it was Neanderthals? Do they think they were even giants? Because Sarah didn't mention giants in her book. She mentioned red-haired cannibals. Do they think there were redhead cannibals? Do they think it was any of the above? Do you have different ideas? Was it interstellar travels from the Pleiades? Was it lizard people who dropped their wigs in red dye? What do you think it was? Let us know, because I think of cryptids and life, I think the coolest thing is other hominids that evolved that lived or live with us at the same time. I think that's really interesting.
I think that interests me the most because it's the most likely to have been able to happen. So I think it would be terrifying to be a Piute Indian and to have the experience of your children being drugged from
Or
the perimeters and then eaten.
Being a Tooelean or a Grantsvillian, to have your children drugged and eaten. I think that's one of the scariest thoughts. The scary thought is if you're going to war and you look at the other side and the thought in the back of your mind is, if I fall, they're going to
eat me. Oh.
Does that scare you, the thought of being eaten?
Okay, so me personally, no, but I don't have any religious reasons why my body shouldn't be eaten. As a matter of fact, I've said once I'm gone, I really don't care. I don't care if you feed me to the dogs.
For the low price, and I'm even going to price today. It was $7 million. For the low price of $5 million, you can get this prime cut of Jared.
I think I would feel differently if I had like a sacred religious a sacred religious belief that my body needed to remain intact, which a lot of the Indians did. I mean, they still protect their native burial grounds very fiercely.
There's a lot of that. They had a lot of how you were buried, whether all your body parts were there. A lot of that stuff was in there, and not just their belief. That was a belief that was carried throughout the world. So I don't want to just say Native Americans believe that.
No, it's in a lot of different.
A lot of beliefs, including in some parts of Christianity. You had to be buried. You couldn't be cremated.
That is still a very big part of the Mormon religion.
Still a big part, you know?
Yes.
Now, me personally.
So I think if my beliefs were different, I would be much more terrified of being eaten. Now, I don't want to be killed for any reason.
Yeah, that's a pretty nominal point. Yeah.
But I mean, I think where it would bother me the most is trying to protect my children.
Yeah.
That's a terrifying thought. And then if their stature is different than yours and their appearance is different than yours, they become a whole different type of fear because you don't relate.
Having me eaten doesn't bother me. But if my kid was to be eaten, or my
totally different,
or my nieces, nephews, my parent, that kind of freaks me out. I don't know why.
Totally different. I totally get that.
Maybe it's because I have the thought that I won't be there to worry about it if that happens, if it's me. But yes, and we've got future shows coming up. We've been hashing some things out. There's one that we're playing around with a couple ideas to do, and I really want to do it. I thought about it all last night. Even when I was supposed to be doing my homework on this, that's all I thought about.
Hey, do me a favor and pull up Castos. Let's see where we're getting listens from. I want to do a couple of shout outs.
Oh, okay. Let's pull up Castos.
Because I think it's interesting to us when we pull up the geographic areas that people are listening. Like, we want to hear what your cryptids are. Have you heard of cryptids in your area that are unique to your area?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome to go into a cryptid, an oriented cryptid, like location. Ooh, maybe someone from, we've got some Bulgaria listeners.
See, interesting country.
Germany listeners, French listener, some UK, and some
or even just a like we have in our locale, Devil's Cave. Now, Devil's Cave is folklore around here. There was even a big satanic panic back when I was a kid about Devil's Cave and its outreaches. So even if you have something similar to that, where it's just local to where you live, we totally want to hear about it.
Oh yeah, that's a fun stuff. Oh, ghost stories too. If you've got a haunted location, see, now Devil's Cave, I've been in there, and I could see
Not me.
a satanic deal with it because there's a whole bunch of shit written down in there, like in red paint and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got a local ghost story or haunted house or, you know, crazy.
Oh, yeah. And thanks for tuning in. Those of you in Germany and France and Bulgaria, like
Ireland, big shout out. Some Canadian action. I have some good friends.
yeah.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in and let us know what you got. Yeah. Bring it to
Yeah,
us.
for sure.
And we're going to have to bring some bat squatch sometime.
Oh, bat squatch. I want you to, during that show, to be making a bat squatch. I'm going to get you some clay.
Okay, we'll do it. All right. Joining us.
Thanks for joining.
We'll see you again next week. Still a few more of the relaunches to do, so probably knock another one out around Wednesday. And yeah, I loved researching this one just because the whole time my mind's just racing. Oh, could that have been this? Could that have been that? I loved it. And it could all be, or it could be just, you know, folklore, but I choose to believe it's real.
Well, the problem with folklore is it starts somewhere. And I will tell you that the folklore that lives the longest is seated in fear. And that's because you feel a need to share it with the next generation, where things that cause things of joy are often celebrated yearly, but they're not passed on as folklore.
And it's been to scare little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start somewhere. Even the guy with the hook that, you know, gets in your back seat started somewhere, people.
Yes. All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Have a great week.
sign of a human. Why do people kill? Not a sign of a human.